talking about only 5 drivers right now, so 7 of the 12 in the Xfinity Series are already locked up.
Right.
And we are just now into May.
Mm-hmm.
It's not outside the realm of possibility that both the Cup and the Xfinity Series could see lockouts with wins.
Because you don't see it. You're not seeing as many Cup drivers. Let me rephrase this. You're not seeing as many moonlighters step back and run. Not only Xfinity, but trucks as well.
Yeah.
You're not seeing as many, so that door is wide open.
Yep.
It's wide open.
I agree. Sunday's racing began about the same time between Formula One and NASCAR, but Formula One's event in Miami ended first, so we start there. Late race safety car period caused by a crash between Pierre Gasly and Lando Norris, lap 41. Didn't end until almost 10 laps later. When it did, defending series champion Max Verstappen takes off, but he couldn't shake Charles Leclerc. But while he couldn't shake him, he could stay ahead of him. For the final run from lap 47 to the end on lap 57, Verstappen was out front, claims the win. Leclerc kind of keeping a strange stranglehold on second. It was kind of a situation where momentarily you thought he might have a chance at catching Verstappen. And then all of a sudden, Verstappen was just like, oh, wait a minute, I've got this extra gear. I don't know what it was.
The old saying in motorsports, you know when you're playing chicken with somebody? That was a classic case of playing chicken.
I can agree. You got to know when to
flinch. An easy classic case of playing chicken.
You just got to know when to flinch.
Yeah, in Red Bull, when they flinch, they flinch. They're out of here. See ya.
Yes.
So
that's about right.
Yeah.
So that was that situation. Then you got Carlos Sainz, Sergio Perez. That marks a Red Bull, Ferrari, Red Bull finish. That probably will be our way of looking at things throughout most of the rest of the season. Mm-hmm. Unless Mercedes or somebody else suddenly jumps up and surprises the living daylights out of all of us.
To be quite honest with you, I'm not so sure Mercedes is going to.
I'm kind of with you.
I'm not so sure because with them this many races into the season already and they still haven't hit on anything, and you've got, of all people, George Russell outperforming Hamilton consistently every week.
That's just
something's
got to change over there. There's no doubt about it. You mentioned that George Russell outperforming Lewis Hamilton. Russell was 5th, Hamilton was 6th, Valtteri Bottas 7th, Esteban Ocon 8th, Alexander Albon 9th, Lance Stroll 10th. We'll get back to that during the news in Formula One because there was a slight problem with one of the drivers there. That was the official ending. The way that they crossed the start-finish line, slightly different.
A little bit.
Haas F1 pair of Mick Schumacher and Kevin Magnussen, who both had runs in the top 10 at different times during the day, but they just couldn't hold on to those top 10 runs. They finished 15th and 16th as a result. We'll talk about that a little bit more in the news as well. With the results, title chase getting a little bit closer. Charles Leclerc, 104 points, 85 now for the defending champion from Max Verstappen. Sergio Perez third with 66, 59 for George Russell. Carlos Sainz, 53, 36 for Lewis Hamilton. Lando Norris, 35, 30 for Valtteri Bottas. Esteban Ocon with 24. Kevin Magnussen hanging on by his fingernails in 10th with 15 points. He just, he hasn't scored points in a couple of races. And if Haas F1 is going to do what they said that they were going to do with the promise that they had at the beginning of this year,
right?
They're going to have to level it out, I guess, is what we're going to have. Because what we're seeing is really, really high highs and very, very low lows.
Well,
there's nothing in the middle.
Until he goofed up in the last stint of that race right there, Mick Schumacher was on his way to score.
It's true.
He was well on his way to score.
I'll tell you about that here in a bit. At this time, there are only 2 full-time drivers that have no points on the season. They are Mick Schumacher and Nicholas Latifi. Mick Schumacher, I think, has a pretty decent chance. They've got a good car there. He's just got to put it all together. Nicholas Latifi, on the other hand, I'm a little surprised Williams has hung on to him.
His seat is not hot. His seat is torch hot.
It is. That dude has got to be highly uncomfortable. The reason I say only 2 full-time drivers that have no points, you got to remember the first couple of races of the year Sebastian Vettel was out due to COVID.
Right.
And he was filled in by Nico Hülkenberg, who scored no points, but he's not a full-time driver.
Right.
Constructors' Cup standings, Ferrari continues to lead the way there as well. 157 to Red Bull's 151, real tight. 95 for Mercedes, McLaren 46, 31 for Alfa Romeo. Alpine 26, AlphaTauri 16. Hey, remember when Haas F1 was sitting 3rd in points?
Yeah.
They're 9th now. Yeah, they're 8th now, I should say. They got 15, 6 for Aston Martin. Williams now holds 3 points in the relatively young season. So again, we talked about this. Got some new regulations in this year, and already all 10 teams have scored points. So, congratulations. Finally, NASCAR wrapping up the weekend with their first run of the year at Darlington Raceway. It wasn't without some people getting their undies in a bunch.
That's an understatement.
As one might imagine. Following a caution that came out on lap number 260 of the 293 run due to a multi-car crash, William Byron led the field to the restart. Joey Logano was by his side on the outside. On the restart, Byron got into Logano coming off of turn number 2. It gave the 22 a good Darlington stripe, but Logano recovered. He began pursuit of the leader, a dogged pursuit, we might add. With 2 laps to go, heading into turn 3, Logano got a good run and squarely hit the back of Byron's 24, and while Byron got into the wall, Logano dropped down below him and ends up going on to claim the win. Tyler Reddick second, Justin Haley third, then Kevin Harvick, Chase Elliott, Christopher Bell, Michael McDowell, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Austin Dillon, Daniel Suarez make up your new top 10. After the race, William Byron sitting on pit road stewing as Hendrick Motorsports vice chairman Jeff Gordon comes up and talks to him. Some microphones caught Gordon saying to him, realized that he now had a card to play up against Joey Logano later, but both Gordon and Logano ripped into Logano during interviews. We're going to get back to that. Byron finished the race 13th. Officially does still lead the title competition. He has 2 wins on the season. Ross Chastain also has 2 wins, but William Byron's got a few more points. 8 other drivers holding wins as well. Single-time winners Chase Elliott, Joey Logano, Kyle Busch, Alex Bowman, Kyle Larson, Chase Briscoe, Austin Cindric, and Denny Hamlin. Ryan Blaney leads your non-winners inside the top 16, trailed by Martin Truex Jr., Christopher Bell, Kevin Harvick, Eric Almirola, and Austin Dillon. Keeping an eye on those that are just outside, but inside the top 20. 17th is Tyler Reddick. 18th, Eric Jones, not Tyler Jones. Daniel Suarez, Chris Buescher, and then you got just outside in the top 20 of the top 20. It's Justin Haley and a surprising Kurt Busch. I really thought Kurt Busch was going to have a much better start to his year than what he is seeing so far.
Yeah. But I think they're on the verge of waking up because they've shown too many flashes of consistent runs. Yeah. It's just bad luck has struck them at bad times.
Yeah.
I mean, just like the
Well, I was about to say, that wreck that we were talking about, lap 260, the big-time yellow multiple-car wreck, not only did Kurt Busch get caught up in something that wasn't of his own doing, so did his teammate, Bubba Wallace. And again, nothing of their doing at all. And they both had very fast race cars. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. And they were both running in the top 10 at that time, if I remember right.
Wallace was 8th, and I think Kurt was like 11th, 10th. Okay. Right at 10th or 11th, something like that.
So, yeah, they both had really good cars. Well, here's your schedule for this weekend, and actually, it began just a little bit ago. Formula E got the Berlin E-Prix doubleheader weekend this weekend. Kickoff at 9 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Central Time. CBS Sports Network, if you get it. I don't. Running on a section of the old Berlin Tempelhof Airport, a 10-turn, 1.46-mile-long course. It'll be 45 minutes plus 1 lap. We'll keep an eye on it here and let you know a little bit later on in the show. This afternoon, NTT Data Indycar Series running the GMR Indy Grand Prix. Now, some things have changed on this, so I'm going to get this. Initially set to run on the 14-turn, 2.43-mile-long road course and was supposed to get underway 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central Time. They have been looking at the radar up there in Indianapolis. They moved the race up. It will be green flag 1:05 p.m. Eastern Time. That means just after noon Central Time.
Yep.
And that probably means that the show that we have been talking about and we'll bring up later probably will no longer air before the GMR Indy Grand Prix. If they do air it today, which I think they probably still will, it should air after the race. We'll talk about it again coming up in just a little bit.
Yeah, talking about that Formula E race, they've got 34 minutes and 52 seconds left.
Okay.
They're under green.
Still got a ways to go, so we'll, like I said, we'll keep an eye on it, and probably beginning of next hour, we'll give you the full rundown. Tonight, Camping World Truck Series is in action. Kansas Speedway, Heart of America 200, Fox Sports 1 and MRN Radio have your coverage. 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central tonight. Windy day out there in Kansas?
A little bit.
Okay. Generally it is, but, you know, every once in a while you get one of those perfect days, but it's Kansas. So I figured it was going to be windy, and I imagine it'll probably wreak a little bit of havoc with the trucks and probably Cup tomorrow.
Probably with ARCA as well, but they run before.
That's true.
They run before trucks at 2 o'clock.
That's true. Nav TV?
No.
Fox Sports 1?
I think it's FS1, yeah.
Okay. Tomorrow morning, CBS Sports Network again hosting Formula E, same course in Berlin. Second race of the weekend, again, 9 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Central Time. NHRA does technically get things rolling with the finals of the Cape and World Drag Racing Series first, just before 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central Time, but it won't be airing live. So that'll bring us to the NASCAR Cup Series, running the Advent Health 400, Kansas Speedway. Fox Sports 1 MRN Radio, 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central Time. Then the delayed Virginia NHRA Nationals from Richmond's Virginia Motorsports Park. Fox Sports 1, 6:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. Central Time, or whenever they get done with the Cup Series race. However, the timing happens to work on that particular situation.
Mm-hmm.
So, plenty to get to. Plus, we gotta talk about the situation that happened between Logano and William Byron. But this is the month of the Indy 500.
Mm-hmm.
Arguably the biggest race in the United States of America. And I know if you're a NASCAR fan, you'd love to throw the Daytona 500 out there. And I get it. The argument could be made.
Sure.
Okay? But when you think about it, if you go around the world, not everybody knows about the Daytona 500.
No.
You mentioned the Indianapolis 500. If anybody's a race fan anywhere on this planet, they know what we're talking about. So that's where we're going to kick off when we get into the news, but we're going to take this break, and we'll be right back.
Stay right here for more on the Championship Racing Network.
Did you know that Anderson...
That's great, but it's going to change.
Of course.
Welcome to Alabama.
Always does.
You know, what is the phrase? If you don't like the weather here in Alabama, wait 5 minutes?
Yeah.
It's not necessarily altogether false.
Or some days you're liable to experience all 4 seasons in 30 minutes.
That's right. And that's why you need to be paying very close attention to what your house is telling you. If you know anything about cars, you know when your car is telling you, hey, something's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Well, your house does too, but you just got to get attuned to it.
Yep.
So as you're going out and you're doing yard work maybe today, look around the house, see if there are cracks in the foundation.
Mm-hmm.
You know, maybe you got bricks or cement blocks that are making up your foundation on the outside. If they're even if they're just small cracks, that could be a problem. Water getting in creates bigger problems down the road. If you're inside the house, you're having a hard time opening and shutting doors, opening and shutting windows, or maybe you've kind of noticed maybe some excessive creaking as you're walking along the floorboards, or heck, maybe you could just set a ball down on the floor and it just rolls away from you for no reason whatsoever. All of these are indications you might have a foundation problem. There's no guarantee of it, but you want to get it checked out. This is where Michael Hart from Ox Foundation Solutions comes in. Set up your appointment. It's no cost and no obligation to you. 205-362-6419 or Mike at oxfoundations.com. He comes out. He'll go through the house. He'll give you a written foundation assessment. And Michael Hart is a trustworthy guy that all three of us here on this show, even though producer John's not here today, have used and have gotten his advice on our foundations and about our yards and about all the other things that we deal with. He knows what he's talking about. You can trust him. If he comes up and says, hey, there's something wrong with it, he'll go over it with you in the written foundation assessment. He'll explain to you the pricing situation. And then you tell him, hey, I heard about it on the Championship Racing Network. Promo code's WEST. He'll knock 15% off of that right off the bat. But if there's nothing wrong with your house, he's not going to make something up just to try and fleece you of money. He's going to tell you, hey, you're good. And thank you for your time. I appreciate your business. And you want to know why? He's going to be that honest for you, because if there becomes a problem later on down the line, you remember he treated you honestly and you go back to him. Yep, it's called customer service. Sometimes it's not the biggest thing in the world for some people, but it's out there and we need to be aware of it. So again, set it up. Mike at oxfoundationsolutions.com by email or call him 205-362-6419. All right, so this is the month of the Indy 500. We're going to kick off the news with the Indycar Series. We know that the famed race's pace car going to be a Chevrolet Corvette once again. They gave us the details finally. It is a 2023 70th Anniversary Edition Z06 model, white pearl paint scheme, some special badging as your paint scheme, special Corvette cross flag emblems, red brake calipers, 70th Anniversary logos on the steering wheel, both seats, and the sill plates as you open the doors. This will mark the 33rd time that the Corvette has been chosen to pace the field. 33rd time the Chevrolet has been chosen to pace the field. 19th time that the Corvette has been the Chevrolet of choice to do the honors just since 1978. Wow. There you go. So who gets to drive this machine as the race gets started? Well, that honor falls to former IndyCar race driver Sarah Fisher. Still holds the distinction of being the fastest woman in Indy 500 history. She ran the race from 2000 to 2010 9 different times, most for any woman so far. In 2002, set the mark as the fastest female with a 4-lap qualifying average, 229.439 miles per hour. That's not too far off of where we're probably going to see the highest speeds this year, truth be told.
It's going to be close.
Yep. After ending her driving career, of course, she became a team owner. She gave Joseph Newgarden actually his first IndyCar ride, launched him off to 2 series titles and counting. She's no longer in IndyCar ownership, however. She and her husband, Andy O'Gara, do own Speedway indoor karting facilities. They got one in Indianapolis and one in Daytona.
Pretty popular little joints.
I haven't been to it yet, but I think it would be pretty cool to check it out.
I haven't been to it. I've been by the one in Daytona, but I haven't been to the one in Daytona.
I've seen pictures. It's pretty cool.
Pretty quick.
Then you got the purse for the Indy 500. Last year, for winning his 4th Indy 500, Elio Castroneves and Meyer Shank Racing took home a cool $1.82 million. This season, should Castroneves claim his record-setting 5th Indy 500, marking back-to-back wins, it'll be the first time, by the way, since 2001 and 2002, since a guy by the name of Elio Castroneves did it. Borg Warner, the company behind the famed trophy, has set aside a bonus. Borg Warner CEO Frederick Lisdale said it'll be a $400,000 bonus. Quote, Borg Warner takes great pride in our extensive history with this classic motorsport event. We enjoy upping the ante with this exciting rolling jackpot. We're on the edge of our seats waiting to see if Elio once again can claim the jackpot or if another driver will be immortalized in this year's coveted Borg Warner trophy. With that thought, but no confirmation of the exact winning prize money, let's take last year's prize money of $1.82 million. Certainly, this bonus would push the winning money over to $1 million if it's not already above that number without the bonus intact. Again, we haven't been told yet.
Yeah.
But the way that Roger Penske's doing things and how the popularity of IndyCar is once again on the rise, it wouldn't surprise me if it's just over $2 million by itself, which means that with the $400,000 bonus, you're starting to edge into $2.5 million territory should Ilio win it.
Heck, I would have moved the bonus for $100,000 for each win you got. You win 5 wins, $500,000.
That's an interesting way of looking at it.
That's what I would do.
Yeah.
Make it intriguing.
Hey, Frederick Lisdale. Challenging extended.
Yeah.
Let's see what you're doing.
Yeah.
Another first for the Indy 500. They're going to break out the first use of those LED safety panels for the race. It's not the first time this season for those panels. They're actually going to get tested this weekend in the GMR Grand Prix. Officials will be on hand as backup in case something goes wrong. Computerized system features 20 by 20-inch LED panels going to correspond with the proper flag colors, but the thing about it is officials can also put up things like course conditions on the screens to alert drivers of, say, debris or pavement irregularity. Reports have some road course corners getting multiple screens to ensure safety as much as possible. There will also be cameras mounted on each of those panels to help the officials pinpoint incidents and allow for a more complete replay of the incident to see if penalties are necessary. They're thinking that today, for the road course race, it could be as many as 20 of these panels around the track. Remember, it's 14-turn course. How many of them that they would actually keep in use for the Indy 500, I don't know. I would probably say at least 2 per corner, which would mean at least 8. But that's just 2 per corner. You got to remember, those are pretty long straightaways, front and back straight. It wouldn't shock me at all if there were 10 to 12 with a couple of panels down the straights as well.
Looking at a photo, they've got one, you can say, on the straightaway, you've got one position right when they come out of the final turn, headed down the front stretch to the start-finish line. And then looks like there's another one for sure going into turn 1.
Right.
And it looks like there's one that splits the difference. So it looks like 3 on the front stretch for sure.
Okay. Yeah, so we could be talking 15, 16 maybe for the Indy 500 then.
Probably.
Be interesting to watch that situation and see if all the bugs are worked out on it. Because this is something that they said they wanted to try and maybe start instituting maybe as early as Barber Motorsports Park. I wasn't able to make it. You and I weren't able to make it because by the time we started to make plans for it, everything was pretty much shut off. But it'll be interesting to see if they can get all the bugs worked out in time for the Indy 500 to make this thing work perfectly for that. When we get to that famed race, you're going to be able to see the number 11 AJ Foyt Racing Chevy-powered ride for driver J.R. Hildebrand quite easily. Because along with longtime team sponsor ABC Supply Company, they've put up a very patriotic paint scheme on that car, highlighting a very cool nonprofit agency, Homes for Our Troops. They build and or adapt custom homes for severely injured post-9/11 veterans.
Really good-looking race car. I saw that.
Yes, it is. I wish we could give you a picture, but considering the fact that producer John is not here and I didn't want to overload Matt, we went pictureless this week on CRN Live. But Foyt said at the unveiling of the car, quote, "I think the fans will love it. I think the fans will be so happy to see the American flag, especially with our team. I'd like to thank ABC Supply for supporting Homes for Our Troops. It's great. J.R. Hildebrand will get his 12th start in that particular ride. Instead of it, quote, to support this organization at the Speedway, to bring attention to veterans, some of the challenges that they face, and to highlight the things that people in organizations like Homes for Our Troops are doing to give them opportunities to better their lives. It's such a special thing to be able to be a part of." You mentioned it. It's a good-looking car. It's great purpose behind that car as well.
No doubt.
So congratulations to ABC Supply Company working with AJ Foyt Racing and making this happen because it needed to be done. I hope Hildebrand does well. A guy who came out like a house on fire and almost won the Indy 500 if he hadn't overdriven corner number 4 on the last lap and crashed the thing into the wall. He might have actually won one of these Indy 500s, and after that, it feels like he has been just a man with no luck there.
Yeah, no doubt about that.
He knows how to run fast there. He just can't seem to get the finish that everyone expects of him. He's got the talent. And in this particular case, I think he's got a pretty good car under him. He's already proven that. He's been proven to be able to run that car earlier this year up inside the top 10. Can he get that Indy 500 monkey off of his back becomes the question. I'm not necessarily going to say he's going to win. Don't get me wrong. I'm not claiming he's going to win. Could he? I think he could easily get it inside the top 10. The question is, can he keep it there?
I'll let you know next weekend after I see first rounds of practice. I'll let you know that then.
I understand. Top Gun Racing, obviously not running this year at the Indy 500. They have been running with British driver R.C. Anderson. Well, there was a dispute between the Anderson family and Top Gun Racing over who actually owned the cars. That dispute's finally been settled. Top Gun Racing claimed at one time they actually did own the two cars that were used in the 2021 Indy 500 for R.C. Anderson, but they've now been returned to R.C.'s father, Neil, as the dispute comes to an end. So with the two cars in hand, now the Andersons have their eyes set on working with some other team, hoping to get back into IndyCar, hopefully next year. R.C. Anderson talked to Racer.com, said this, quote, "Since we have our cars now, it's full focus on 23. The whole focus on trying to land somewhere with our equipment. We have the cars, we have the transporter, it's just putting all the final pieces together." R.C. Anderson does have 5 starts to his credit, best finish of 9th back in 2016 when he was driving for Dale Coyne Racing. That was at Watkins Glen. When he was asked if there was a thought about the reformed family-owned Team E, Neil said that wasn't going to happen. At this time, though, they do plan to have a handful of races for 2023. Partnership with a current team to get some technical support and things like that. And sponsorship pending. Now, we've talked about this. We've talked about the differences between how much it costs to operate in the major series on a top flight ride.
Yeah.
Now, we know that the salary cap, and there's no better way of calling it, so I'm just going to call it a salary cap, has been instituted for this year, beginning this year in Formula One. It's $145 million per car. So to run a top flight ride, read Red Bull, Ferrari, you're spending $145 million.
Before you even take the car out of the trailer.
Pretty much. Come to NASCAR to run a top flight, read Hendrick Motorsports Joe Gibbs Racing ride, Team Penske ride, $25 million.
Yep, at least.
And understand, this is why we no longer seem to have sponsors that cover the entire year. That's a pretty hefty outlay.
Pretty much, yeah.
So that's why you got multiple sponsors throughout the year. Then you drop, quote unquote, to the NHRA and IndyCar, which are about neck and neck, to run a top flight, top fuel car, top flight funny car, or top flight IndyCar ride. $5 to $6 million. But if you're not running the full season, if you're planning on running, say, 5 races, and that's out of, right now, plans, as we've heard them, for 17 races next year, that's a third. A third of $6 million is 2.
We'll go play the Powerball, see if we can get it.
Sure, why not?
I mean, you could do that, and we could buy out Team E.
Sure.
Quickly.
Yeah. Sponsor Team E for the CRN logo.
My deal is going to be I sponsor my drive.
I sponsor R.C. Anderson's going to go for that.
Yeah, well, there's such thing. We got 2 cars, boys. We'll make them work.
Yep. And then we get back to that situation we were talking about, and this, we don't know now with the change of the start time in the race, okay? But I do know that NBC still probably has plans to run and air the Pennzoil Presents the Club show. Initially, it was supposed to air just before the race, the GMR Indy Grand Prix, which was supposed to be 2 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Central Time. Don't forget, this is the show that features the 4 men who won the famed Indy 500 4 different times. Elio Castroneves joining that club just last year with the win. The prior 3 were A.J. Foyt, Rick Mears, and now the late, unfortunately, Al Unser. Al Unser passing away sometime after they had recorded the meat of the show. The show set to also feature interviews and appearances by Mario Andretti, Tony Stewart, Roger Penske, and others. Again, we don't know this for a fact because we haven't heard it, and I haven't been able to look it up to see what NBC has done to change things.
Right.
But I would imagine with the way that they have moved the race up to a now 12:05 Central Time start, more than likely this will air after the race. But I use the words carefully, more than likely.
It probably will, I would say, because of what this show represents.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
I don't think they're going to miss it.
No, I wouldn't want to.
No.
I mean, when you think about what they have done, I mean, just even if it was an hour of the show with just Foyt, Mears, the late Al Unser, and Helio Castroneves, that's a draw for a racer fan. Just a casual racing fan who may not be an avid IndyCar fan. You know about the Indy 500. If you're a race fan at all, you know about the Indy 500.
Right.
And this is a very select group of people who have won this race 4 times.
Yeah.
And then you throw in legend names like Roger Penske as not only the car owner that he is, but he owns the track, he owns the series. You got Mario Andretti, who not only is a champion in IndyCar and Indy 500 winner himself, he's an F1 title winner. And then you got Tony Stewart, not to mention all the other people that are part of this.
Yeah.
This is a star-studded event. If you're a race fan of any type, this should be on your watch list.
I will be watching.
Whether you watch it live or you DVR it or whatever, this should be on your watch list.
No doubt. No doubt about that.
Let's take a break. When we come back, we're going to turn our attention over to Formula One. They were in the Miami Grand Prix. The top 10 that we gave you about 20 minutes ago?
Yeah, about that.
Yeah, that's the official top 10. The way that they crossed the finish line was a little bit different.
Just a little bit.
We'll tell you about it when we come back. You're listening to CRN.
We will be right back.
walked onto the grid at the Australian Grand Prix. That's when that look debuted. He's kept it ever since, when the Williams driver claimed 9th place last weekend at the Miami Grand Prix, scoring his second straight points numbers of the year. He got to be asked about whether that look was here to stay. He said that the red hair ain't going anywhere anytime soon. Posted on social media after the Miami Grand Prix, quote, "When you find out your P9 points from P18 feels really good, I guess the red hair is here to stay. Let's keep pushing." Let's take you back to a movie.
Yeah.
Called Bull Durham.
Mm-hmm.
There's a scene towards, it's about the last third of the film, where Kevin Costner's character is approached by a rather upset character played by Susan Sarandon, talking about one Eddie Calvin Nucleouche. You're keeping him out of my bed, so to speak.
Yeah.
To which Bull Durham, Kevin Costner, replied, "If you believe that you are winning because of fill in the blank here, then you are.
Yeah.
If you believe you're winning because you colored your hair shockingly bright red, then you are."
Yeah, no doubt.
So there you go, Alexander Albon, red-haired, flamingly red-haired as it is. That'll be the way it'll look for a little while. Get used to it.
Pretty much.
I didn't say you gotta like it. I just said you gotta get used to it.
Unfortunately, but pretty much.
The other side of it is the disappointment from the American-based team, Haas F1, and specifically their lead driver, Kevin Magnussen. He termed last weekend's race in Miami, quote, "the hardest race I've ever done." How hard did that track look to you?
I don't know if I'd call it the hardest race I've ever done, because I'm pretty sure the little course in Saudi Arabia, Jeddah, is harder than what Miami was.
Okay.
It was a physical race, yeah.
Yeah.
But I
Throw in the heat and the humidity?
The southern humidity, I think, is what was
Probably pushes it a little bit over the top, so to speak.
You know how dramatic Formula 1 drivers can be.
Oh, sure.
Did I say that out loud? Yes, I did. But
No.
I think it was more of a humidity and heat factor.
I could easily agree.
It can make it physical, but hardest race you've ever done? I don't know about that.
Well, the first time we've ever been on the track, obviously in competition for heat, humidity out there, because it is Miami. I mean, we were down there a couple of years ago, and we actually kind of got lucky, truth be told.
Well, yeah.
When I left Birmingham, and remember, this was the final race of the year 2019, the last time that they did the championship weekend at Homestead, Miami. You and I got called to go down there. I left earlier than you did.
Yeah, I flew in on Thursday afternoon.
I got there Thursday morning. Left out of Birmingham Thursday morning. Flew into Miami. Here, remember, it's mid to late-ish November.
Yeah.
And we had cooled off. The humidity here in Alabama had gone down blessedly. It was nice and comfortable when I got on the plane here. When I got down there, I felt like I was back in August.
Yeah, it did. But I remember after we dealt with a little bit of rain showers on Friday afternoon, it cooled off and it didn't feel bad at all.
But remember, we're talking about mid to late November.
True.
And I got off the plane, and even later on in the day when you got off the plane, you felt it too.
Yeah, because
it felt like we were back in Alabama in August.
Yeah, because I left Birmingham. Well, not Birmingham. My pattern was Atlanta, Raleigh, Durham, Miami. Crazy. Say that.
I know.
Thanks.
How in the world can you not get from Atlanta to Miami in one hop?
Thanks, Southwest.
Uh-huh.
Anyways, I left I had sleeves on, but it wasn't thick sleeves. It was the thin heat gear sleeves.
Sure.
I got down there and I thought, well, hey, where did this come from?
Start rolling the sleeves.
Yeah, start yanking them up.
Yeah. And yeah, you mentioned it. I mean, it rained and it cooled off, and the rest of that time we actually laughed about it at one point in time because we were listening to the radio and we did a forecast where they were talking about the lows were going to be in the 60s, and the guy on the weather doing the weather said, "Break out your jackets." And you and I just looked at each other and just started laughing in the car.
Yeah, we're riding down 95
with the front windows down in the rental car and the sunroof open.
Yeah, and the sunroof open.
Yeah, they rented me a very nice nice car.
If I remember right, it was a Ford Fusion.
It was. Nice Ford Fusion. Quite well appointed.
We're getting ready to get off the exit of US 1 to go down to Homestead through the subdivision we had to drive through. Break out the jackets and be aware of iguanas falling out of trees.
We started to laugh.
I went, I want to look at you. I said, I would have to try.
Yeah.
You did.
You did. Yeah, iguanas apparently under certain temperatures just kind of stop moving.
They're falling out of trees.
And just start falling out of trees.
Yeah.
But it was the jacket comment with lows in the 60s that both made us really break out in laughter.
Yeah, no doubt.
I can only imagine first weekend in the month of May, full sunshine, because I could see that easily even on a cell phone. Full sunshine and the humidity that was more than likely down there. Yeah, I would imagine it was probably pretty tough. And with a fairly challenging track that you're on for the very first time, yeah, maybe. I mean, again, you got to remember, he said this in the heat of the moment. Given a chance, he might change his mind if somebody came back to him, say, next weekend pre-race, and said, was Miami really the hardest race you've ever done? Well, now that I've kind of come back and thought about it, it's up there, but it might not be the hardest. But, again, heat of the moment. Magnussen did look to be in a position to work his way into the top 10 in the final laps, but he did admit he did not see a local caution flag, and it caused him to collide with Lance Stroll and ended his day, racer suffering too much damage to continue. Magnussen had been chasing down his teammate Mick Schumacher, who was running inside the top 10 as the laps dwindled down, but he got to racing with Sebastian Vettel. The two of them got into each other, and that ended any hope of points on the day for the team. Magnussen saying this, quote, "It was the hardest race I've ever done. It was unbelievably hot. Had to do the last stint with damage to the front wing, but even with that damage, we got ourselves in a position to fight for P10. We were catching Alonso, and he had a time penalty, but it is what it is. We tried everything we could. We didn't get points. On to the next one." Mick Schumacher was playing things closer to the chest. He didn't really say much after the race.
Yeah, that's right.
And here's the thing. I didn't see the accident itself that caused it. I saw a couple of replays, but I didn't get like the full scope of what happened with Schumacher and Vettel. But from what I'm gathering, Mick Schumacher should have been angry at himself.
Rightfully so, and he was. Because it was Thursday, yeah. F1 released something on their social media where the in-car audio, like their own little version of Radioactive, and when he done it, he just, all you heard was
So
like he went, son of a gun, I just messed up.
Yeah. I mean, and I get it. You see a chance for a position which, you know, we've talked about Formula One. It's rather notorious when it comes to not necessarily being the easiest to pass.
Right.
And you see an opportunity where you're catching a guy in front of you, you're in P9, you have a chance to improve yourself to P8. I could kind of see how it would be like waving a lollipop in front of a 3-year-old.
True.
You know, you're going to start salivating, you're going to start pressing a little bit harder, you're going to want that position a little bit more, and unfortunately, his desire got the best of him, and he overdrove the car.
Mm-hmm.
So why was Mick Schumacher quiet? Because he knew he had screwed up.
Yeah, I mean, when you know you mess up, there's really nothing you can say.
Yeah, you own up to it. And
exactly.
Couple of notes for the future. First off, one of the numerous celebrities that was in attendance in the Miami Grand Prix was the aforementioned 1978 Formula One champion Mario Andretti. Now, Mario Andretti has not driven a Formula One car that I know of since 1982. But you can't be in racing as long and done as well as Mario Andretti has done without getting friends. And he's got them.
Yeah. Quite a few.
Made one well-known friend, McLaren CEO Zach Brown. So much to the point where McLaren CEO Zach Brown has promised Mario Andretti he's going to get a chance to get behind a recent, not this year, but a recent McLaren Formula One ride later on this year. Zach Brown posted on his own personal social media account, quote, "Struck a deal with Mario to tick something off his bucket list. He'll be driving a previous McLaren F1 race car at this year's U.S. Grand Prix in Austin. Mario Andretti is now 82 years old. Still sharp, though. Got to remember, Mario Andretti is the guy who is the driver of the two-seat Indycar that takes people around the courses before most, if not all, Indycar races throughout the course of the season.
I can guarantee you, if he wanted to, he could be Indycar and open wheels version of Red Farmer and Herschel McGriff.
Oh, easy.
Easy.
Yep.
And that makes me want to go to Austin, Texas just to go watch that.
Mm-hmm. It'd be cool.
It makes me want to go to Austin now.
And I really hope, and we were at Talladega when Clint Boyer did it, and he was out on the track all by himself in the Davey Allison number 28.
Mm-hmm.
As opposed to, say, at Darlington a couple of years ago when Richard Petty led the field to green, but he really kind of didn't want to leave the track. I get the temptation for wanting to stay out there.
Yeah.
I really do. I get the temptation for wanting to stay out there. Congratulations to him, though. I think it's great. Another driver within the IndyCar world who has his eyes set on Formula One is Colton Herta. Herta was and actually still is rumored to be going to Formula One if and when Andretti Autosports gets their FIA approval and gets their Formula One team off the ground. But there's also a caveat here. Two of them, actually. Number one, Herta's set to get his Formula One test, also with McLaren. He's set to drive a 2021 McLaren racer later this season, although neither Herta nor McLaren have said exactly when that test session will happen, or even mentioned what course it'll happen on. But I have to admit, I'd be a little surprised if it wasn't either Austin or Vegas. Just to make it easier on the travel situation for Herta and McLaren and everything, it just kind of makes sense to make it happen somewhere here. Although Canada,
I would say Canada or Mexico is not out of the question.
One of the four left North American stops, Canada, Austin, Vegas, or Mexico City, seem the most obvious. Which one, we don't know, and again, nobody has confirmed it.
Yeah.
But appearing on the F1 Nation podcast, Herta said this, quote, I want to be in Formula One at some point in my career. Obviously, time is essential to that, so it's going to be very important to do a good job in the test and hopefully open some doors. And you're thinking to yourself, wait a minute, I thought he was supposed to be attached to Andretti Autosport. Here's caveat number 2. He said, quote, as far as I'm concerned right now, I don't have a race seat. I don't have a contract for one, so anything can happen. I'm hoping that if this doesn't lead to anything with McLaren, it gets people talking a little bit, maybe it will open a door. In other words, Colton Herta's in the last year of his contract with Andretti Autosport.
Yeah.
That's what I'm reading out of this.
Sounds like it. But Michael Andretti would be doomed to not re-sign him.
Oh, 110% agree. I get it. This kid wants to go to Formula One.
Yeah.
Michael Andretti doesn't yet know if he's got a Formula One team, but you got to remember, he's building the infrastructure. He's spending that money right now as if he is going to get a yes, you've got a Formula One team coming. He's already doing all the infrastructure and all the work to make that happen and be ready to go, not in 2023, but as he says, I want to start in 2024. If I'm Michael Andretti, one of those deals as far as the infrastructure is concerned is signing Colton Herta.
Signing, if you're going to do that and project him into F1, sign him to the one-year deal.
Yeah.
To finish out IndyCar.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's one of your F1 seats with an American driver and an American team.
Yeah. I mean, that's easily written into the contract.
Oh, no doubt.
You run IndyCar one more year.
You roll to F1.
And if and when we get approved, obviously there needs to be language that states if and when we get approved for Formula One, you're one of my 2 drivers. Then maybe there needs to be, this probably is more on Colton Herta's side than Andretti Autosports' side.
Right.
Maybe there needs to be a rider in there that says that if Andretti doesn't get the Formula One team, that he'll still run for them in 2023 on the promise that he'll get an Andretti Autosport Formula One ride in 2024. But if that ride doesn't materialize because he doesn't get a team, he's got an out in his contract that would allow him to go to Formula One.
Makes sense, yeah. I could see that. Makes perfect sense.
Would that be the best case scenario for Michael Andretti? Maybe not. That's certainly the best case scenario for Colton Herta.
The one thing I would like to see, too, is if some of these drivers are going to migrate over from one series to F1, when they get approved to run F1, F1 and the FIA needs to release how many super license points they've accrued.
Yeah.
Because I would be willing to bet Nicholas Latifi in general, if he doesn't have the minimum 40 super license points, if he didn't have it to start with, how did he get in the series?
It's a good question.
Because you got to have that minimum 40.
Judging by what we have seen out of Colton Herta, I'd be shocked if he doesn't have enough points to get it.
True. By what we've seen out of Herta versus Latifi, he could be in an F1 seat tomorrow.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm sorry. If I'm in control of Williams, and I get it, Herta's testing a McLaren, I get that. But if I'm in control of Williams, and if I see, I need to be like that great white shark, smelling blood in the water. Because Nicholas Latifi has not proven he can do much of anything with this car.
No.
Remember last year, I mean, this is still the Williams car. George Russell actually started scoring points in that car late last year before he made the move in the offseason over to Mercedes.
Right. But at the same
Nicholas
time,
Latifi's done nothing.
At the same time, and Alex Albon's been out of his seat for over a year, comes back in this year, and he's scoring more points this year than Latifi scored in 2 seasons combined.
Exactly. So at this point in time, if I'm the Williams management, I'm like the shark in the water smelling blood and going, okay, here's Colton Herta saying I don't have a contract for next year. This is an upgrade. To me, to you.
Oh, yeah, it's an upgrade.
And pretty much to anybody who's watching racing, it seems like it would be an upgrade to go, even to a guy who really has never had time in a Formula 1 car, it still seems like an upgrade to go from Latifi to Colton Herta.
Or even I would say go as far as, I would sit in front of him and say, hey, Williams, who's your top reserve driver?
Just trying to think of who else there. I know Jamie Chadwick's in the pipeline from the W Series. We'll get back to that in a bit.
Who's the most prevalent winning races right now?
Ladies and gentlemen. I mean, Jamie Chadwick, yeah. I mean, even Jamie Chadwick right now seems like an upgrade over Nicholas Latifi.
I would, if I'm the team principal of Team Duracell, Doralton, Capital, Williams, Sofina, whatever's on the side of the car, if I'm the team principal of it, Latifi's out, and I'm gonna take, and people would say, you're doing a publicity stunt? No, I'm not doing a publicity stunt.
I'm looking out for the future of my team.
I'm looking out for the future of my team, exactly. 2, let's see what you got, Jamie.
Yeah.
We're going to make you the first female to start an F1 or race.
Since 1976, if I remember correctly.
Correctly.
I know we got to take a break here in a moment, but to just kind of wrap this thing up, again, to base off what you said, sounds like it'll be a publicity stunt, right? Wrong. This is us looking out for the future of our team. We've had 2+ seasons of Nicholas Latifi. We have a known set of parameters for Nicholas Latifi. He hasn't scored a single point in 2+ seasons. 2 full seasons before this, and the races so far this year. Nothing. One of your, if not your top reserve driver, is Jamie Chadwick, who is the only champion the W Series has ever known. 2 seasons, 2 titles. Oh, by the way, they started with a doubleheader weekend in Miami. Spoiler alert, she won both. Yeah, I get it. They say it's the equivalent of Formula 3, but I'm sorry. If she's got enough points on that license to be in a Formula 1 car, I'm going to try her. Let's put Jamie Chadwick in for the rest of the year. This is her tryout. And in the meantime, I'm over there looking at Colton Herta going, really want to get to Formula 1? Let's go talk a little bit of contract numbers.
Take that little Duracell battery you got painted on top of your air cowl of your car. Recharge your pan and go for it.
There you go. When we come back, we'll talk Formula E, we'll talk W Series, and we'll get into some stock car news. We've got Cup Series Xfinity trucks, we've got some SRX and some NHRA news. As hour number 2 is on deck right here on CRN.
Don't touch that. We're back to the Championship Racing Network.
Hour number 2 getting underway. Running?
A little bit.
Okay. Not bad. It's got a good beat. I'm Steve West. That's Matt Nicholson. Producer John Myers off this week as he had some pressing situations that he had to deal with. He wasn't going to be able to make it once we got done with the show at 10 o'clock to be able to start all that at 11 o'clock. So he took this week off. He'll be back next week, we think. Who knows? Between now and then, things may change again. But that being said, let's take a look. We told you that racing for this weekend actually began right about the time we began the show. 9 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Central Time, Berlin. Formula E running the first race of a doubleheader weekend, and it's over in Berlin.
It is. It just went checkered about 5 minutes ago. And winning race 1, representing the Rocket Ventura Fighting Susie Wolves, you got Eduardo Mortara.
Okay.
Jean-Eric Verne second, Stoffel Van Doren third, Andre Lotterer fourth, Mitch Evans fifth, Pascal Wehrlein sixth, Sam Bird seventh, Antonio Felix da Costa eighth, Alexander Sims ninth, Nick DeVries 10th, Oliver Rowland 11th, Robin Frines 12th, Jake Dennis 13th, Sebastian Buemi 14th, Oliver Askew 15th, Oliver Turvey 16th.
Turvey had a pretty good start to the year up until that point in time. Something about Berlin, and he just didn't get along, I guess.
Yep, Sergio Sete Camara 17th, Max Gunther 18th, Dan Ticktum 19th, Antonio Giovinazzi 20th, Lucas DeGrassi 21st, and Nick Cassidy bringing up the rear in 22nd.
All right. Tomorrow, of course, they got another race, 9 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Central Time, same course, Berlin Tempelhof Airport. We will get you the results of that race next week here on the show and run down all the points for the drivers and the constructors as well. But that being said, BMW's left Formula E. We talked about that last year when they announced it. Audi left at the same time. And because BMW left, that changed the team from BMW I Andretti to what became Avalanche Andretti, striking out on their own. But for next year, they have repartnered. And they went from BMW to another German automaker as they are teaming up with Tag Heuer Porsche. German race team will provide Andretti with their powertrain and tech support in a multi-year deal. It's the first time since 2008 that Andretti and Porsche have worked together. Back in 2008, it was John Andretti, the late John Andretti, who drove the Porsche prototype in the 24 Hours of Daytona that year. In what we have seen in the couple of years that Tag Heuer Porsche has been here, uneven. That's about the best way I can say it. This year seems like they might have found themselves a little bit, but it's still a highly uneven team. It's an interesting collaboration, if you will.
Yeah.
But I hope it works out. We'll find out.
Maybe so.
Formula E season, by the way, this year back to 16 races. Should the World Motorsport Council approve the race set to go to Marrakesh, Morocco. This is a race that would take the place of Vancouver. Formula E is waiting that final approval by the WMC, and if and when it does come, it'll mark the 5th time that the series is raced there. And sliding the race 10 slot taking place on Saturday, July 2nd. We talked about this, I guess, 3-4 weeks ago now? In the fact that the race promoter of the festival that was going to be surrounding the Vancouver Formula E race, they didn't get all the permits signed, sealed, and delivered in time, so they had to defer. They promise it'll be next year when it happens. Nice job by Formula E to come in and find a replacement race that quick.
Yeah, good job on them for sure, because you'd hate for something like that to cause a race to not to be ran.
Absolutely. I mean, when you think about it, this is a series that just last year got the approval from the FIA to be a World Championship title series. We hadn't been in the previous 6 seasons before that.
Yeah.
You know, you certainly don't want to start stumbling down the road now.
Yeah,
Now that you got a little bit of momentum going for you.
No doubt.
And then we noted it, the W Series. We talked about it last weekend. 2022 W Series kickoff happened in conjunction with Formula One in Miami. We stated that the series in their 3 years, they're running 2 years. Skipped 2020 due to the pandemic. Both times the champion, Britain's Jamie Chadwick. A third is beginning to seem rather likely, and we're only 2 races into a 10-race year. If the rest of the season goes the way that the first weekend did, Chadwick sweeps the weekend. In race number 1, bested fellow Brit Jessica Hawkins and Frances Bietska-Visser in third. The second race, Chadwick beat another fellow Brit, Alice Powell, who got second. Third place went to Spaniard Nerea Marty. Chadwick out to a quick 50 points in the championship race. Second place, Marty has 23. Visser's in third with 21. Not saying that she's guaranteed to grab championship number 3, but it seems more than likely.
Yeah, and the part about it is, though, and yeah, for her, yeah, it's more than likely, but it would be a championship in the inaugural season of Jenner Racing.
That's true. Wouldn't Jenner Racing be more than happy to say, hey, first year champion? Yeah, I don't know. Say what you will.
I'm still going to say it. And I don't care. Bruce Jenner,
yeah,
who it is, was a really, really, really respected SCCA racer back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
Very
You want to talk about somebody who knows racing.
Oh, yeah, yes.
So, you know, I don't have a problem calling him. I'm sorry, I grew up. I remember the first Olympics that I remember. I'm old enough to remember vividly watching him win the decathlon in 1976.
Yeah.
I remember him very well being the ABC sports commentator that he became. Mm-hmm. And it could have been anything from the fluff, Battle of the Network Stars,
right,
to talking about, you know, being on Wide World of Sports.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he was very, very good at it. And as you mentioned, he got into racing. I know him as Bruce. You can go through the change all you want. It's hard for me to get out of and not see Bruce when you show me a picture. I just look at it and go, that's Bruce.
Bruce Jenner.
With long hair and a dress on.
Bruce Jenner. Yep.
You just get used to things. Maybe that's not the most politically correct thing in the world to not call him Caitlin like he wants to, but you get used to things. Sorry.
Unfortunately.
That's what I'm used to.
Yep.
To stock car racing, where NASCAR has let us know the first top 10 rundown in the All-Star fan vote. Now, as per prior years, we actually don't know the order inside the top 10. All we know right now is the 10 drivers that have gotten the most votes for the All-Star vote at this time, and they're released in alphabetical order. So that's how we're going to give them to you. The 10 leaders in voting right now are Chris Buescher, Harrison Burton, Cole Custer, Austin Dillon, Justin Haley, Eric Jones, Corey LaJoie, Tyler Reddick, Ricky Stenhouse, and Daniel Suarez. If I'm guessing, and again, this is a pure guess, your 2 leaders are, maybe not in this order, but probably, Tyler Reddick and Daniel Suarez.
I agree with that, with Suarez leading outright.
Okay. And I could easily see that.
I say Suarez is leading outright.
Don't forget, you can have your voice heard, 1 vote per email per day. Log on to NASCAR.com/fanvote. So with that done, well, let's go back to Darlington.
I've got my opinions on this one.
I'm sure. So we mentioned the bump and run move that Logano pulled on Byron in turn 3 as they were coming to the white flag. Byron, as we noted, was talking to Hendrick Motorsports Vice Chairman Jeff Gordon before he was interviewed post-race. And then when the microphones were shown to Byron, he said, quote, he didn't even barely make the corner. I don't know why he goes in so hard, knocks the blank out of you, makes no sense. He added later in the interview that he felt that it was stupid, his word, not ours, for Logano to call it retaliation for the crowding into the wall that Byron had done in the restart with 26 laps to go. Added that Logano, quote, does this all the time, unquote. He also called Logano an idiot and a moron and said, quote, he does it to everybody and he didn't let us finish. He goes in there 10 miles an hour faster. Stupid. Shall we finish this so you can get the whole thing?
Go ahead.
Okay. I didn't know whether you had comments on that and then you were going to deal with Logano later. We'll deal with it all at the same time?
You're probably going to be surprised at my reaction on that.
I'm looking forward to it. Logano was unapologetic. As noted, he talked about the restart incident. He said, quote, we're equal. You put me into the wall first. At that point, it's game on. And then he admitted this, quote, to me, I probably would not have gone straight to the bump and run if it wasn't for how he got the lead. He came off turn 2, drove me right into the wall. I think anyone in the field would probably agree if someone's going to be willing to do that to you, the gloves are off at that point. Later, in the media center, he was again being interviewed. It was brought up again to Logano, who was told what Byron had actually called him. Bob Pockrass of Fox Sports asked if the name-calling bothered Joey. Logano laughed at that, said he'd been called much worse, including as he actually got out of the car to celebrate the win, and then said that he couldn't care less what words Byron used when talking about him. You're up.
Quite honestly, Byron needs to get over it. He needs to get over it. Here's why. I see this from both sides. The move where they came off 2, that wasn't a dirty move. That was a classic squeeze move. He just squeezed him. Byron chose the lift.
Yeah.
Logano chose the lift. Logano brushed the wall. He didn't hit the wall hard enough to where it killed the car.
No, he got a Darlington stripe.
That was nothing but a classic squeeze move.
Yeah.
And I can't believe I'm actually saying this, but this is the way I see it. When he got into Byron going into 3 on the last lap, he hit him square. He had no intentions of turning him. He hit him square.
Yeah.
But he hit him at the perfect spot of the racetrack in transition to where when he made that contact and he was making the transition into the corner, it was going to automatically upset the car. Logano didn't wreck him.
No.
He timed that move, and if anybody wants to debate me, come on. Wait. But I'm talking with a helmet on. He hit him square. He didn't hit him to the left. He didn't hit him to the right, because if he had hit him to the left or the right, you could very easily argue deliberate intention to turn.
Sure.
But with him hitting him flush, he hit him at the perfect point to where Byron didn't have enough time to react to get the car back down to make the apex of turn 3 corner. And when he was transitioning into the corner, it upset the car. He got in the wall.
Right.
That's what I call being smart and timing your move.
There's a reason why I use the phrase bump and run to describe this at the beginning.
Yeah.
Regardless of your feelings about Joey Logano, okay? Again, in this particular situation, I have to take my fan hat off and set it to the side. I've got to put my journalism hat on. Personally, I couldn't care less about Joey Logano. He doesn't bother me, but I'm not a big fan of his.
Same.
But in this particular situation, for Jeff Gordon to come out and be upset, and for William Byron to be upset over a bump and run move.
When I see Jeff Gordon do the exact same thing.
Yes. And sooner or later, William Byron will as well.
Yeah.
There isn't a driver who's won a race, or multiple races, in their career that hasn't at some point in time pulled a bump and run move.
Or had it done to them.
William Byron. Jeff Gordon was right in one case. You got a card. You can now play against him. Hey, I got bumped and run.
I owe you one.
I owe you one.
Yeah.
I should have gotten a win. I didn't get it. Don't do it with malice. Don't do it with the intent to turn the guy.
Do it with calculation.
Don't do it like Austin Dillon did to Eric Almirola a few years ago and drive through the trunk. This is, I'm moving you out of the way because I feel like I've got a faster car. I'm just going to slide you up the track, get you a little loose, make you have to get control of the car once again. I'm going to drive under you and I'm going to move on. Ladies and gentlemen, Dale Earnhardt, Bristol against Terry Labonte. Go look it up. It's a classic bump and run move.
Yeah.
Was it popular then? No, because Terry Labonte was every bit as popular as Dale Earnhardt. You got to remember, we look back on Dale Earnhardt now, 21 years after he passed away, and we think about him fondly. When he was racing, you either loved him or you hated him. And it was about 50-50 in the stands, truth be told. You hear as many boos when Dale Earnhardt got introduced as you heard cheers. Terry Labonte, on the other hand, was a very popular driver.
He was.
When Dale Earnhardt did the bump and run at Bristol on Terry Labonte, that was a very unpopular move. But you know what? Terry Labonte understood it. Welcome to racing. He was ticked, but he understood it. That's a racing move. William Byron, welcome to it. You have now been introduced to big-time racing. Again, whether you like Joey Logano or not is not the question here. What he did was a classic move on a track, Darlington or shorter. Happens all the time.
Both moves are defined by me as classic moves. It's racing.
Yeah.
Racing.
I have to admit, I had no problem with this move.
I didn't either.
And if you want to double check me, you can go to a podcast on my other show where I work Monday through Friday doing Dixon and Vining. Richard Dixon was out on Monday, so I sat in for the final hour with Vining. Mm-hmm. And she brought it up to me. It's on the podcast on the website for Talk 99.5. Go there. Check it out. You'll see. I said the exact same thing there.
Yeah.
I haven't changed my opinion. This was a bump and run move. You don't have to like it, but that's what it is.
When the check is in the air and the flag's flying, all bets are off.
Mm-hmm. The thing about it, if you don't like Joey Logano, take Joey Logano out of the car, put your favorite driver in the car, and see how you feel at that point in time. And if you're willing to defend your favorite driver making that move, you can't be mad at Joey Logano for making it.
Right. Because like my mentor in motorsports always taught me, in war, a white flag means surrender. In racing, a white flag means war.
Yes. It means charge. And that's exactly what Joey Logano did.
Hard.
That's exactly what Joey Logano did. When we come back, speaking of Eric Almirola, it might be his last season, but you know what? Stewart Haas Racing hasn't stopped getting him sponsors. Nope. We'll tell you about the latest one next, right here on CRN.
Stay right.
my opinion.
Maybe.
Could have done away with it. But
again, it's supposed to remind you of the shoe.
True.
And I wasn't... I'd been a part-timer at an athletic shoe store for several years, right about the time, a little bit after Air Jordan 3 came out. I've seen Air Jordan 3s.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see where they're going with this.
I could too, but I mean, they're just...
Yeah, again, it's a polarizing look.
It's different for sure, but I just...
Yeah. Hey, to each their own. I like it, Matt, not so much.
Yeah.
And then there's this one, and on the surface, this might seem questionable, but because they're keeping it in the Cup Series, this does not interfere with current sponsorships within NASCAR. Okay? This is why they're allowing this to happen. Petty GMS Racing assigned a sponsor, which will make the new sponsor the team's official motor coach partner. The company is literally called RV Retailer. At 97 locations in some 30 states, Mike Dean, president of Petty GMS Racing, said that it, quote, allows our front office team to have a place to base operations from while at the track each weekend. In addition, we will utilize the luxury motor coach to host and entertain our partners. Again, as long as they only do this and run this sponsorship in the Cup Series, they can get away with it. If they were to do what they have done earlier this year, which is cooperate with a Camping World Truck Series ride, and they tried to put it on there, they wouldn't allow it because the Truck Series is title sponsored, obviously, by Camping World.
Right.
So they wouldn't allow it there, but because Camping World does not have a major title sponsorship involved in the Cup Series, that's how they allow this to happen.
Right. I don't think old Marcus would be happy if he did that.
Probably not, but he's got to understand, business is business.
Right.
And Petty GMS Racing is doing what they need to do to what's best for their team.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I mean, but, hey, you got to do what you got to do.
Oh, yeah. In this day and age, if you can find a sponsor, you go get them.
Yeah, no doubt.
You go get them.
No doubt, even if it's a black cement Jordan car.
For those wondering how the next generation car compares to the prior generation year over year, what we do know is one thing. Cautions are up.
No doubt.
Mm-hmm. In 12 races leading into this weekend, we have seen 110 caution flag periods. Now, 25 of those have either been competition cautions or end-of-stage cautions. In other words, scheduled. We knew they were coming. So let's set those aside and call the rest of them for cause. Crash, debris on the track, something like that. That leaves us with 85 cautions for cause. Let's compare that to last year. Through 12 races, NASCAR reported 59 cautions for cause. Now, a couple of things might have helped or hurt. Atlanta becoming a super speedway, it added to the number. 5 cautions were called for cause at Atlanta last year. It was up to 11 when the Cup Series returned there earlier on this year. But there were a couple of other tracks where we saw close to 10 cautions, and that number was cut in half this year. So it can't be altogether unfamiliarity with the car on a brand new track. I'm sure that probably was the situation in Atlanta.
Yeah.
But overall, that's not necessarily the case. So the question becomes, are we really dealing with a competition caution for cause?
Right.
Or is NASCAR being overtly cautious and throwing out a yellow when maybe a yellow could have been avoided?
I'm going to say option 2.
I almost guarantee it.
Because we've seen it happen before.
They have been, we've seen them in the past be quick to throw a caution flag, and we've questioned it. But I'll be honest with you, I've seen what I think are more situations like that this year than what I think I've ever seen in the past.
Yeah, seeing the prime example, and probably the most prevalent prime example, if you ask me, the hair trigger caution they got through when the ARCA race was over time limit at Talladega.
Yeah.
Yeah, the hair trigger caution because of the first thing that I told Jim Trado when we were standing on pit road. I said, now that they said that, I said the first car that gets sideways, they're going to pull the trigger.
And they did. And why?
Unfortunate.
Television talks loud.
But you mean to tell me, and I still, unbelievable that television could not wait and let them finish 7 laps.
Was the Talladega race like I think on Fox Sports 1?
It was.
What do they care? What do they care?
It was on Fox Sports 1. The Xfinity race was on Fox.
I get it. What do they care? Go ahead and start your pre-race show.
Did they have to go to the little soccer match on Fox Sports 1?
No, they wanted to get the Xfinity race started on time. Again, I was up in the tower. I heard about all this.
Oh, wow.
They wanted the Xfinity Series race started on time. To me, I'm thinking of this from Fox's angle, and I'll even look at it from MRN's angle, but I'll look at it from Fox's angle most specifically. You've got the ARCA Menard Series race on Fox Sports 1. Go ahead and start your pre-race show on Fox. Talk about the fact that you've still got racing going on in the background. You don't have to show it. Talk about it, though. Say, hey, listen, ARCA Menard Series race still going on. This just gives you a little bit more time to set up your pre-race. What do you care?
Which leads me to my next question. Where's Kerry Tharp when you need him?
Yeah. Yep.
Because we know what Kerry Tharp told NBC that night.
Mm-hmm.
We racing tonight, boys.
24 hours in Darlington.
You dadgum right.
Started that race 4 hours late.
Yep. Green flag fill at 10:21 p.m. Checkered flag fill at 2:38 a.m. Stephen Matt leaves the infield at 4:01 a.m.
Yep. By the time we got back to the hotel, the sun was rising.
Yeah. That was a long ride home that day.
Yeah. I get it that Fox is spending a whole lot of money to broadcast NASCAR. But in this particular case, you already have the race on one of your networks. It's not like NAV TV was showing the Talladega ARCA race.
Yeah.
This was you. You were showing the Talladega ARCA race. Just leave it on in the background and start your pre-race.
Finish it 7 laps.
Yeah, 7 whole laps. But above and beyond that, you've talked about this. Mm-hmm. You had gone down and you were able to kind of roam around the infield, and you went into Big Bill's garage at Talladega Week, mm-hmm. and you got a good look at those Cup Series cars.
Yeah.
You literally called them a tank.
Huh. That's an understatement.
Okay. Go back to Joey Logano's situation where he got crowded into the wall at Darlington. That car, it marred up the paint a little bit, but the car kept soldiering right along. It didn't really hurt it.
Mm.
My questionable cautions when it comes to this year for the Cup Series have been in relation to, you get a car that's spinning all by itself and finds itself down on the apron, boom, caution flag.
Don't even give them time to save the car.
Give them a chance to actually get the car either under control or stopped and then restarted and going on its own way. Can it happen all the time? No, we've seen that. If it gets stuck on the grass, for example, has more than one flat tire, it kind of gets beached because that's just the tolerance underneath the car. It's got a very, it doesn't have a whole lot of
fraction.
Yeah, it doesn't have a whole lot of clearance, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
But give the driver, give the car the chance to get under control in however it's supposed to happen.
Yeah.
Get restarted and get rolling. If you realize that it can't get rolling, by all means, throw the caution. But give them a chance. And they haven't been giving them that chance. Not yet.
No.
Maybe have a little more patience.
Yep.
Kyle Busch, Samantha Busch, been waiting on the arrival of their second child. It arrived this week. We'll give you details on that. And NASCAR and a reality show? It's going to happen now. We'll tell you about it next, right here on CRN. Getting ready to come to the end of this particular edition of CRN. Appreciate you listening. Steve West, Matt Nicholson along with you this morning. And Kyle Busch and his wife Samantha, we had talked about this last week. They were kind of on standby.
Yeah.
Specifically, Trevor Bain was on standby, assuming that their second child, might be born on Sunday. Well, waited until Tuesday. Kyle Busch and his wife Samantha welcoming their second child. They've named her Lennox Key Busch. Lennox Key Busch. Lennix. It's unusual.
Very unusual, yet unique.
Yeah. Officially born Tuesday via a surrogate mother. Two-time Cup Series champion posted on Twitter along with 4 pictures, quote, "By the grace of God, our sweet baby girl is here. Thanking everyone who has followed our journey and prayed alongside of us. Our hearts are bursting with happiness. Congratulations to them." I know that they are.
Absolutely.
After parking his car right there on pit road,
yeah,
in a very, we'll just call it inconvenient spot. It got better.
A little bit.
If you know me at all, there are certain things that I just can't stand.
Tell us about it.
One of them, I consider the bane of my entertainment existence. Reality shows. I hate them with a red-hot passion. I don't care whether it's Survivor or American Idol or So You Think You Can Dance or America Doesn't Have That Much Talent. I'm sorry, America's Got Talent. Whatever it is, I hate them. And now NASCAR's in on it. If you're a fan of Austin Dillon, you're about to get a closer look at him courtesy of a new reality show set to come to the USA Network entitled Austin Dillon's Life in the Fast Lane. It'll debut, and I won't be watching, on Thursday, June 23rd, 9:30 p.m. Eastern, 8:30 p.m. Central Time. Quick rundown of the show was given by the USA Network. It said of this, quote, "The half-hour unscripted series will follow the over-the-top NASCAR lifestyle of Daytona 500 champion Austin Dillon, along with wife Whitney, son Ace, and his best friends Paul and Mariel Swan. Featuring high-stakes races, hilarious adventures, and heartwarming moments at home, Austin leans on his loved ones both on and off the track as he trains and competes in the NASCAR season."
Yeah. Sure. This will be top of the line, I think.
I don't care.
I don't either.
This is the Osbournes. This is Gene Simmons and Shannon, what's-her-face?
Tweet.
Yeah. This is Chris Lee Doesn't Know Best, all wrapped up into one, put into race form. I don't care. And here's the thing. If it was Tony Stewart, I'd still say, I don't care. I don't need the manufactured drama. Because I can guarantee you that's what you're throwing in the best friends of Paul and Mariel Swan. Why?
Paul Swan is his front tire changer.
Congratulations. Why?
Yeah. Because
I'll tell you why. It's the manufactured drama.
Yeah, because he and his wife are expecting a kid, and they're just best friends with each other. But here's a little bit of unmanufactured drama off the cuff here.
Okay.
We've got a truck series driver that has had travel woes and is not at the racetrack and cannot get in his truck for practice.
That's not good.
That would be Stewart Friesen.
Ooh.
Flight delayed 6 times from LaGuardia to Kansas City via Chicago. 15 minutes ago, he sent on his social media, well, we made it to Chicago, but the flight out this morning was late because of a check engine light on, so of course missed the connection from Chicago to Kansas City. And he put MCI, which is Kansas City Airport code.
Yeah.
Rebooked on another, but will miss practice for sure. Unreal. So the truck will still be on the track with at the controls of one Darrell Wallace Jr.
Be interesting to see what happens from there. The fun of travel in this day and age.
Yeah.
Speaking of the USA Network, they also reiterated their plans to air the show Race for the Championship, initially called an 8-race docuseries following the drivers and the teams through the 2022 season. In the update that announced the Austin Dillon reality show, the number of episodes upped to 10. Still no debut date for this idea, no doubt based upon the Netflix Formula One Drive to Survive idea. This one I'll probably check out. Because I like to see some behind-the-scenes stuff concentrated on the track, kind of like what Netflix has done with Formula One Drive to Survive.
Right.
What you do in your personal life, that's your business.
That's on you, for sure.
To the Xfinity Series, one bit of news here. Nick Sanchez getting a little bit more wheel time in the McLeod Motorsports number 5 Chevrolet. Sanchez debuted in the series earlier this season at Phoenix Raceway, where he finished 26th. He'll be back at Charlotte later this month, out of Pocono, Michigan, and the return to Kansas later this year. The Bristol Night Race in Homestead, Miami. At this time, that's the last race for him. He does race later today as well. Its previously scheduled race continues his full-time ride as well. The ARCA Menard Series run for Rev Racing in the number 2. He's third going into points this weekend. He's only 4 points out of the overall lead, so congratulations to Nick Sanchez. Hopefully he can do better in 26th.
Wow.
Camping World Truck Series set to head west with the Cup Series to run at Sonoma Raceway later this year. They're going to run what they're now calling the DoorDash 250. Marks the Truck Series' first race at Sonoma since 1998. And it's part of a triple-header weekend that includes the Cup Series, the Truck Series, and the ARCA Menards West Series. This also marks the first time for a title sponsorship for DoorDash since they came into the series back in 2020 when they were sponsoring Cup Series driver Bubba Wallace. And we don't hear about this much, but an appeal was actually upheld or overturned in this case. Usually the appeals, they upheld the original penalty.
Yeah.
Not this time. National Motorsports Appeals Panel heard ThorSport Racing and driver Matt Crafton's appeal of his disqualification from Darlington last weekend, decided, and we talked about this on the show because they ran Friday night. He had finished 5th, if I remember right.
Yes, he did.
They decided to rescind the official ruling DQing him, reinstating his 5th place finish. He had been disqualified due to being too low in the front during post-race inspection. After testimony on Thursday, the panel reversed the call, saying the ThorSport Racing Court did not violate the rules set forth in the penalty notice. The three-person panel's decision in this matter is considered final. In other words, NASCAR doesn't have a way of appealing this ruling.
Right.
And why would you?
Yeah.
You did it the first time. You got what you said done. Boom. Now it's gone. I don't have a problem with that. In fact, congratulations to ThorSport Racing for actually being one of the few teams to have your penalty overturned. Who was it, Tony Stewart, that said it's almost worthless to try and make an appeal?
I think so, yeah. I think it was.
And he's not altogether wrong. I mean, how many times have we said that the decision by NASCAR was upheld? I can't remember the last time they did overturn one. Was it this year?
I can't remember one that they've overturned. I've remembered a few that the final one is overturned.
Oh, yeah.
But not the initial one.
I can't either. I think it goes back to last year when the 3-person panel overturned something.
Yeah, but I can't remember. If you hadn't said it, I probably could have remembered it. Same way, yeah.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah. Hey, anyway, congratulations to ThorSport. You have a top 5 finish restored back to you. The Busch family, while that Busch family welcomed their baby girl this week, that was the only birth of the week in the NASCAR family. Former Cup Series driver, current NBC NASCAR commentator Kyle Petty. He has a son, Austin. Austin and his wife, Sarah, announced they've had their first child together, which means Kyle Petty's got another grandchild. Welcome to another unusual name. Ellington Montgomery Petty. Okay. The announcement of this ironically came out the same day that Petty's oldest child and Austin's brother Adam had passed away due to a crash in New Hampshire Motor Speedway, obviously 22 years ago. Austin Petty posted on social media, quote, "So on this day 22 years ago, I lost my brother. Today of all days, I welcome my daughter, Ellington Montgomery Petty, to our crazy world. My heart couldn't be more full. Wow, what a day." As we noted, Adam Petty dying on May 12th, back in 2000, when he, at the ripe old age of 19, passed away in a crash in New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Adam was Kyle's first child, Austin his second, with his first wife. The new arrival is Austin and Sarah's third child. They named the first two Stonewall and Rhett. Can't make this stuff up.
Interesting.
There's also Austin's younger sister from Kyle's first marriage, Montgomery, who's 4 years younger than Austin. And then there were kids from Kyle's second marriage after he and Petty divorced. And he got remarried. John is promising that it either is up now or should be up soon on our crnradio.us website.
Right.
We talked when we found out that the next-gen car had undergone closed to the media, crash testing at Talladega Superspeedway. And they were very slow to put out any information about it.
That they were.
They finally released some information talking about how the car had performed pretty much on equal terms with the old car, the next-gen car and last year's car.
Right.
But we never saw the video until this week. The video became public. How did they do it? The car was remotely piloted. They had robots in the cars to help keep the car going the way that they wanted to. With the help of British company AB Dynamics, they performed the test, saying they had specific parameters. Quote, "The test requirement was to drive the car at 130 miles per hour to a precise impact point into the safer barrier, hitting it at an angle of 24 degrees. To control the vehicle's speed and direction, it was fitted with steering, shifting, and pedal, throttle, brake, and clutch robots. This package ensured the vehicle was positioned to within 2 centimeters of the pre-planned impact point, hitting the wall at precisely 130.015 miles per hour and within 1 degree of the prescribed angle." Congratulations on robotics and being able to program it.
Yeah.
Now, looking at the video, and there were several camera angles on this particular video, which again should be up on crnradio.us. If it's not yet, it will be soon. It did seem to perform pretty well. Safer barrier performed exactly as we expected it to.
Absolutely.
Okay, so no misses on the safer barrier whatsoever.
No.
I got to admit, that angle reminded me a lot of what we saw back in 2001. Maybe a little bit sharper, obviously, for Dale Earnhardt, but same kind of basic thought. Shoving the car into a wreck, into the wall at an angle.
Right.
It did seem the car performed pretty well. To my eyes. You're the driver.
No, I don't disagree. It appeared to perform quite well with the camera angles that were on the car that we were able to see in the video.
Right. And they even had a couple inside the car, the way that they had the crash test dummy, for lack of a better term, strapped in, seemed to do what we expected the harness and the Hans device to do, which is keep the driver pretty much locked into that cocoon of a seat that they have now built. Was there anything that concerned you as a driver, though?
Nothing that was on the surface that I could see.
Okay.
I would have to look at something deeper.
Okay.
But from visually on the surface, and I watched it multiple times back to back to back, there was nothing that I saw.
If there's any one thing, and I get to the point where you start to wonder, because what they had done is they got this car started at one end of pit road, ran it down pit road of Talladega, and then when it hit the wall, effectively, instead of turning to go out and hit the track like you normally do, basically it continued to go straight off of pit road and into the wall.
Yeah.
130 miles per hour is probably the one thing that I would say might be questionable, because if you're at Talladega, what are the chances of you hitting the wall at 130 miles per hour?
Slim to none.
Yeah, I might have said maybe jump it up to 150, 160. I could see you scrubbing off enough speed to get down to 150, 160, but I think that might have been a better barometer. 130 is not bad. I think 150, 160 at a Talladega/Daytona, and as it now turns out, Atlanta, might have been a better test if you're doing the test at Talladega, which they were.
Right. I mean, as slow as these Cup cars have gotten now, 170 would be a very accurate, very, very accurate reading.
Yeah.
To see what the sensors would give you, the whatever sensors they had on there to read whatever of the geometrics they were reading of the crash. 170 versus 130 would give you a better read, in my opinion.
Probably so. And then we turn our attention to the SRX Series. No NHRA to this week. No news of massive note that I could find anyway. But in the SRX Series, as he did last year, Chase Elliott joining the SRX Series for one race. Again, it's the season finale. Last year, he joined in the final race. He actually won the race where he and his father battled for the lead at Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway. This year, however, the final race in the 6-race season will happen on dirt at Sharon Speedway in Hartford, Ohio. So it's kind of a different element than last year. Elliott said of returning, quote, "I'm excited to get back in one of the SRX cars this season. Last season was a lot of fun and a cool memory for me competing against my dad. The opportunity to race at Sharon Speedway and compete on dirt against the likes of Ryan and Dave Blaney and some guys that I've looked up to my entire career, really appealing. I'm looking forward to the race, seeing all the fans come out, and hopefully I do well again."
Yep.
New SRX CEO Dave Hawks said of Elliott's return, quote, "When I started at SRX, one of my goals was to get Chase to re-sign and run again in the 2022 SRX season. Chase is a man that can drive anything, and also I knew he would have a huge impact on ticket sales for Sharon Speedway and on the television ratings at CBS. I'm very happy we're able to make this work, and for the fans of the series, of his, and of SRX. Congratulations. I think it's a great move. It'll be fun to see him on dirt.
Yeah, it'll be pretty popular.
And based upon a fan vote, if you were listening to our flagship station, they've got one of the MRN shows talking about local racing. And they talked to this kid, Cole Williams.
Yep.
When the SRX Series does go to Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway, 26-year-old local driver Cole Williams will get to race as well in the SRX Series. Williams has raced at the track at the ARCA Series, where he finished 25th. He's run the car's Pro Late Model Tour with the best finish of 14th at the track, and also the well-known All-American 400 Super Late Model race. He's got 3 starts in that race to his credit. He's led 56 laps in that race back in 2015. He's familiar with the track. Now he gets a chance to do it in the SRX Series.
He will be one of those. He'll be one of those Doug Coby at Stafford kind of moments, and have his spot in the sun because he's really, really good at it.
If he does well, could this launch? I mean, he's 26. Okay,
He could.
I mean, we're looking at what's going on in the Xfinity Series over at Junior Motorsports. Sam Mayer obviously getting a chance, but you look at Josh Berry. Josh Berry seems a little bit old to be getting a real legitimate shot in the Xfinity Series, but he is because he's proven himself.
And he's making most of it.
Exactly. Doug Coby got some starts because of what he did in the SRX Series last year. He's gotten some starts in the Truck Series this year.
It's possible. It's very possible.
Here's your chance, Cole.
Go get it.
Go get it. This is the brass ring that you've been looking for, but you've got to reach out and get it.
No doubt.
No After the Show this week, but we will join you again next week to let you know about all the racing here and all the news of the week. On behalf of the missing John Myers, Matt Nicholson, have a great week.
This has been a presentation of the Championship Racing Network.
Rehab Select of Talladega is looking for nurses. $10,000 in employment bonuses are being offered to individuals looking to grow their career. Call for